What's up, everybody? Welcome to this week's edition of the OnPurpose Podcast, where it's our privilege to show up with you each and every week, but it's also our mission to get you moving, get you thinking, get you holding yourselves accountable to living that purposeful life we're after and not just going on autopilot. And this week, I'm super pumped to have on Dave Remnick, an award-winning composer, educator, guitarist for the Chicago indie band Paper Mice. And what drew my attention to him is the creator of Dad Joke, a children's music project built on imagination, humor, and musical depth, blending his decades of musical experience into songs that I found very, very surprising, intelligent, and curiosity-driven, which is what children need in today's world. So I am excited to sit and talk with Dave because I know he's going to get you moving a little bit. He's a musician, so we're going to have some little movement here. And Dave, my friend, welcome to the show.
Thank you so much for having me, and thanks for the lovely introduction.
Dude, I'm excited to have you, man. Dad jokes are my jam. I have 3 kids. I'm always looking for new material, and you're like taking it to the whole next level with music to them.
Thank you. Yeah. Can I tell you my favorite dad joke, by the way, before we get going?
I would love it.
It might not actually qualify as a dad joke because I feel like it's actually a good joke, but usually there's like that moment when people don't get it and it's just like, oh, maybe it is. Okay, so what do you call a teacher who won't fart in front of their class?
Oh, that's a good one. What is it?
A private tutor.
See, that's what I'm talking about right there, Dave. That's exactly what our community needs more of. I am so excited to have you on the show. And I want to first off thank you for what you're doing. And that is using your talents to inspire kids to think and be curious and to ask questions. And using music as an avenue to reach them in a way that lecturing or just giving them information may not reach their heart and their soul, because music is the rhythm of our lives. And I want to thank you for, 1, seeing the need for that, and 2, the courage to put yourself out there and follow through with it.
Oh, thank you. You know, I feel like a lot of the way that we approach children and we approach educating them, but also the way that we kind of respond to them relies on a certain understanding of children as kind of mini adults, like adults in training. And I feel like that doesn't really do justice to like the kind of depth of their abilities and their knowledge. So what I mean by that is, like, for example, when a child writes a story, right? We often find ourselves, they bring it to us and we find ourselves kind of correcting it and fixing it and trying to make it more like the story that we would tell and kind of smooth out all of the edges so it makes sense to us. But those things that we're smoothing out, I think, are very often the kind of most beautiful and interesting things about those stories, that those elements are things that we would, as adults, we've been taught not to think that way. And so we'd never come up with that kind of thing. And so if we actually leave those things in and find a way of appreciating those things for their own sake, for being those things, I think we have we leave with a different understanding of kids. And I think that approach, we can broaden that out to just how we approach kids in general, to kind of respect and admire them for who they are without trying to turn them into something that they're not.
Oh, I love that, dude. That's so deep and so profound. And honestly, when I listened to your music and preparing for this, I found your music reaching the kid in me.
Oh, thank you.
Right? Like making me want to be curious and make me think, like, wait a second, why am I thinking? Why don't, like, you shared your thoughts on topics and things that made me go, okay, that's an interesting perspective. Let me sit with that. Maybe I need to be more curious. And I think that's one of the things we're missing so much in the world nowadays is just that genuine curiosity to learn and to experience. And you and I were talking a little bit off air, not being perfect and having everything make sense all the time. But some of the stuff we're supposed to do should make sense at all.
No, I think you're right. I mean, I think at least in my music in general, there's always a lot of absurdity and kind of maybe we called surrealism or whatever. But I think that like I am a big I don't know if you know David Lynch's movies at all, but he makes some really messed up movies, really like really really weird and messed up stuff. But
Yeah.
like he's very into transcendental meditation, which I'm not yet myself into, but he's into it for the sake of kind of like plumbing the depths of your imagination and trying to figure out, like he calls it catching the big fish, like figure out like what's lurking in, you know, in there that you can kind of bring out, you know. And I think that those weird things that you bring out, in a way, it gives us access to something that, you know, our kind of logical brain would never give us access to. And those things are very, very often really interesting. Like, I mean, I have a song on the album called "I Hope Nobody Drops a Big Rubber Horse on My Head." Now that's stupid. I mean, that's silly. That's ridiculous. But, you know, for me, that idea led me to, you know, some pretty, I thought, you know, some pretty, it just fit right with my sense of humor and led me somewhere that I thought was just ridiculous. And I thought, why censor this? Why not just follow it through? Why not write a song like that? And why not make a video where I get hit in the head at the end with the horse? Like, I think that makes a lot of sense to me. And I think that's funny, you know?
Yeah. And I think that's just one of the things that I loved about you and preparing is you're having fun. You're
Yeah.
enjoying things.
Yeah. No, yeah. So I did a lot of school. I went to a lot of school for music. I have a lot of degrees, and the final degree I got was a composition degree, doctorate in composition. And, you know, one of the things I realized kind of halfway through my degree is I wasn't enjoying writing music. Like, I felt like I was pretty good at it, and I enjoyed writing with my band. But when it's time for me to sit down and write my, you know, my string quartets or my whatever pieces I was writing, um, I didn't find it fun. And I realized that I was writing the wrong music. And not that I needed to write children's music at that point. I found a way to write that music and enjoy what I was doing in school and write music that I felt like was really reflective of my interest and of my imagination. And now doing children's music, it feels even closer to kind of who I am and what I have in my head, if that makes
Yeah.
sense.
Yeah, absolutely. Like writing for yourself should be fun,
I mean,
right?
I
And
feel like if you're trying to make something fun, it should be fun for you, you know?
yeah, versus trying to write it for me, which takes the fun from you because now you're trying to guess what am I looking for? What will resonate with me, but may not be the true voice you wanted to express.
Yeah, and think about it. If I'm trying to write for you, you're someone in my audience, right? I'm trying to write for you. I want to make you happy. But there's however many other people in that audience, and I can't make all of them happy at the same time. Some of these things are mutually exclusive, right?
Yes.
And so, and besides that, I don't know what's in your head. So any version of you that I try to write for is just me. It's just me imagining you. It's all still me in my own head, you know?
Yeah.
So, I mean, there obviously are limitations. I shouldn't be writing things with, like, you know, curse words or whatever in it, but like, you can write for kids, whatever it is I feel like I could write the music that I want to write, and have it work for kids, without really having to censor myself or change, who I am. It's if you can write to make yourself happy and write to make something that really kind of sparks that imagination and happiness in you, then, like, I feel like that comes through. Can I mention something?
Yeah.
Do you know Alyssa Liu, the skater?
Uh-huh.
Uh, she is like, for me, she's the ideal of like who I want to be. Like, if you remember her story, like she was a skater for a long time and a
Yeah.
champion and everything like that. And then she left because it wasn't fun for her.
Yeah.
Like, it was making her miserable, and she decided to come back and do it on her terms. And I don't know if you saw her gold medal performance from the
Yeah.
Olympics, but like, it was pure magic. And
Yeah.
she radiated such joy and such, like, just genuine love of what she's doing. And she didn't care if she won or lost. She just went out there to spread that love and joy. And because of that, not only did she win, but it was just like the most remarkable performance I've like ever seen. And,
Yeah.
almost across like genre. Like, and,
Yep.
I'm not that into figure skating, but like, that really stuck with me. And that's kind of like, I want to do what she's doing. I want to be that.
Yeah, she removed the pressure of everybody else's expectations and just said, "I just have to be true to me."
Yeah, absolutely.
Right? All right, Dave, before we get too far into this, I got some warm-up questions. Like, I can't just throw you into the deep end here. I gotta get you nice and warmed up. Are you ready for these?
Let's do it. Let's do it.
All
I'm
right.
limber.
If your life has an intro song, what is your song?
Oh my gosh. If it has an intro song,
Yeah, yeah, you get to everywhere you go, they play this song before you enter the room, and everybody's moving to your song. What is that song?
like a song in the world or a song that I wrote.
Either. Whatever you want us moving to.
I used to joke that I wanted to have the Super Mario, the original Super Mario Brothers theme song, just like playing when I go places. Like I wake up in the morning, it's like do 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 do, and then I like like I go into a building, and it's like do 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 do, But that's I think I'd get sick of that. I feel like the one that's coming to mind, and I don't know why this is coming. I'm trying to think. Like I don't think it's like you're not asking me what my favorite song is. My favorite song is a completely different answer. But I think of like a song that just makes me feel good and just feels like it's giving the energy that I have. And it's a very unexpected song. There's a guitarist from I don't remember if he's from New York, but his name is Fred Frith. He does like improvised weirdness, and like he's a composer too, and I think he teaches or taught at Mills, and he writes very weird music. But he has a song that's like I think it's the happiest song I've ever heard. It's instrumental. It's called
Okay.
Spring Any Day Now, and it just brings me such joy, and it's just like a ray of sunshine, that song. And I would be happy to just like to have that be the one that introduces me.
That's a good one. I'm putting it in my phone so I can listen to it. All right. Favorite book?
The Hitchhiker's Guide to the Galaxy.
Oh, that's a good one.
That's like my favorite like pleasure book.
Yeah.
I think my favorite like brainier book, and this is maybe not appropriate because I'm a children's artist, but it's not appropriate. It's The Satanic Verses by Salman Rushdie.
Really?
Yeah.
Okay.
Have you read it or?
No. No, I mean I know I've never read it, but what draws you to that?
I mean, Rushdie's writing in general really draws me in. I think he toes this line that is just like, he writes in such a casual style, but he also writes in a very heady voice sometimes. And so he'll have this sentence that's like super deep and thought out, but he's just like using slang words all over the place. And, so like the way that kind of tone is really lovely, but also like the way that he ties things together in this kind of magical realism that he does. And like his grasp of just narrative, like the opening of that book is two people falling out of an airplane. I
Right.
mean, he just throws you into it, and it's just like, it's so I'm just like taken with it. I know it's a very controversial book, and, he was almost killed for it and everything like that. But like, I think the people who had a problem with it didn't read the whole book because it has nothing to do with what they thought it had to do with. But anyway, so that book and The Hitchhiker's Guide, because I think The Hitchhiker's Guide is it's just so creative and fun and hilarious.
Yeah.
And like, there's moments of like real depth in that book. There's a passage, I can maybe dig it up later, that is just so artfully written and striking and completely different in tone from the rest of the book. And I feel like he's just kind of like flexing by showing he can do this and showing he can do that. And,
That's good.
yeah.
All right, Dave, what's something you've learned about yourself lately?
Something I've learned about myself lately. Well, I think it's that, I think I one of the things I talked about this recently, I think on another podcast, and I hate to like talk about the same thing that I did with somebody else.
That's all good.
But I realized that, when I have free time to kind of take care of myself, I end up writing music. I end up taking that free time to write music because it's relaxing for me. It's a place where I feel like I can uh, be creative without any boundaries. Like I can like there's nothing, I don't have to go by any rules. I can do whatever it is I want to do. And I don't think it's necessarily the healthiest thing in the world for me to be kind of working when I'm trying to kind of take care of myself. And so what I realized recently in a conversation with my therapist was that I had bought a video game while my partner was out of town, and it was one of these open world video games. And I found like I had this just intense craving for the open world video game. And I tied these things together, in the session, I realized that like what I'm craving in that game is that freedom to go anywhere and do anything and climb any wall and touch any, and like that kind of, that just unbound, just, I can't think of the word, but just like that ability to just do whatever you want, is like my recharge. It's what I kind of need. And that can be a video game. It can be, like I said, it can be a lot of things. There's certain kinds of puzzles that I like that give me that feeling, but like I find it very restorative to kind of put myself in a situation where I have no rules, if that makes
Yeah.
sense.
Yeah, for sure. What's a favorite quote you have or a quote you kind of live by?
A quote. Oh man. Oh yeah. Okay. Well, my favorite quote is, and I use it a lot in my teaching. Actually, it was from my daughter was doing like a games magazine, highlights brain whatever called magazine, and there was a puzzle where it's the puzzles where it's like a bunch of random letters and you have to replace every letter with a different letter to make a sentence.
Yeah.
So the answer to the thing, once we solved it, was this sentence, and I was just like, this is so profound and so simple, and I don't know why it hasn't struck me. And that sentence is, if you want to be, I might get the wording wrong, but in order to be good at something, you have to be bad at it first.
Mm.
And I know it sounds kind of trite, and when you think about it, just before you actually like dig into it, but I think like that idea, like I said, I use it in my teaching, and so often my students, I'll be teaching them something new, and they'll make a mistake and get really frustrated with themselves. And I say, why would you possibly be upset with yourself right now? Like what you are doing right now by making that mistake is what you're supposed to be doing right now. Your job right now is to be bad at this. Your job is to try your best, and those failures will teach you how to do it right. Right. And
Yes.
hopefully I'll have a hand in it too. But like, but that kind of ethos, I think it gives us permission to fail in so many aspects of our life. And I think that's just invaluable. I think it's so important.
Yeah. No, I want to get into that for sure. I got one more question for you.
Lay it on me.
What is a word or phrase that would describe the season of life you're in today?
Oh, wow. I guess hurried. And what I mean
Really?
by that is not just that my life is hurried all the time and, trying to balance work and family, but that like, I'm in my mid 40s, and I just like, it's just kind of hitting me now that like, I might be past the halfway point, and there's a lot of things I want to
Mm.
do. And that kind of, I think that's actually what kind of lit the fire for me to kind of push the children's music thing. I think I'm very bad at advocating for myself and putting myself out there, like just really bad at it. And I would have been very unhappy, but happy to sit on these songs for years and not put them out into the world. And I think that realization kind of pushed me to be like, if you're going to do this thing, if you're going to make children's music and actually be able to get it to children and maybe, have some kind of influence, a positive influence in their lives, you got to do this now. Like you got to get this out. And so I definitely feel like there's a fire under me to kind of like accomplish the things that I want to accomplish.
Yeah, that's interesting you say that because I'm a little older than you, but I reflect on that frequently. I find lately is like, man, if I'm halfway or 2/3 through this journey, I should be doing something good today. Like, I don't need to put it off anymore.
Yeah, it's a I'm very uncomfortable with my own mortality. Like I want to be cool with it. And, I know I see people be like really cool with it all the time, but like, I'm not. Like it terrifies me. And like, I'm not okay with, I love being here, and I'm not okay with not being here.
Yeah.
And so like, I imagine you're probably a little chiller about it than I am, but like, it's a very, intimidating kind of realization.
What do you think about this, Dave? Is it also a freeing realization?
Tell me more.
Well, this way, right? Like, it's freeing to know I'm limited in my time. It's
Hmm.
freeing to know I won't be here forever. So I don't need to make decisions like they're monumentally impactful to the rest of the world when I have a framework that says, in 100 years, most people will never have heard of me. And my decision that I make today, they couldn't care less about. So why am I putting so much pressure on this decision versus enjoying the moment of getting to make this decision?
That's a really That's a really insightful point, actually. And there's it brings to mind, uh, uh, so I wrote a string quartet, and it was a piece for singing string quartet. So they had to sing while they played. And it's not about, the point of this is that the text I use was from a poet named Russell Edson. I don't know if you know his poetry at all. He's considered like the grandfather of the prose poem in America, and it's very weird, very absurd stuff. But while I was doing this, I was reading interviews with him and kind of studying his kind of approach. And one of the things he said, I mean, basically just came out of your mouth. He was just like, I don't remember the exact quote, but he was talking about um, sitting down to write and kind of getting caught up and not knowing what to do. And he says, what's the worst thing that can happen is you're going to die. And that's going to happen anyway. So
Yeah.
just like relax and just enjoy. I think he called it like the creative bowel movement or something like that. He's like, this is just a decision. It's just something that you have to do. It's not going to kill you. And if it does, that's the worst thing that's going to happen. And like, this is probably not going to be that, so just enjoy this because it's probably not going to be that,
Yeah. Yeah. No, that's good. Memento mori is a quote I see all the time, right? And that it basically translates to remember you must die.
I've heard those words so many times and I had no idea what they meant.
That's what it means. Something like remember you must die. And like if you not in a dark way, like, oh my gosh, I'm gonna die, but literally like I'm gonna die. I won't be here forever. So let's enjoy what we have. And I think to me that's what I get from you, Dave, when I was excited to have you on and researching is you're enjoying the today. Your music is about curiosity and questioning and intelligence and fun,
Yeah.
right? Which I want to ask you, like, when did you decide that, like, wait, I can take my talents and serve children by instilling some of these messages that they don't even know they're getting message, but because music is just so much part of really who we are and how we connect to each other. When did you decide that was a thing you were going to pursue?
Yeah, the during COVID, my kind of composing career kind of fell apart a little bit, and that all of these things I had planned and performances I had planned got canceled. And this big piece I was working on basically the performance got canceled. And I had been making up songs for my daughter since she was little, but during that time, I saw her watching this YouTube video of those like really cheaply animated videos that they just, I don't know, some like random YouTube site with like 1 million something followers put out, and they put like no effort into the music, they put no effort into the images. It's just like kids will watch this, and so they put it out.
Mhm.
And I was like, okay, you can use the iPad. What do you want to watch? And that was what she said. She wanted to watch those videos, and it struck me that this was really like tragic. This was really harmful. That like
Mhm.
the what's the problem? What's the issue if she's annoying it? If she's enjoying it, like it's not a big deal if it annoys me, like if she's enjoying it. But what I was realizing is, at least the way I saw it, was that these videos that took basically no effort and took no thought to make, they're sending a message to kids. I think they're sending a
Mm.
message that this is what you're worth. I put very little time and very little
Interesting.
effort into this, and I did that because you don't know any better, and you're not going to, you'll watch it no matter what it looks like. Now, I know nothing about the actual ethos of the people making these videos,
Right,
but
right.
that's what I got from it,
That's the
and I feel like
message.
that's the message coming through. And I thought to
Yeah.
myself, like, well, what's the opposite of that? Like, what's the message I want her
Ooh.
to be getting? It's that like I put all of this effort into this thing because you're worth that. You're the most
Mm.
important thing in the world to me. I'm going to put as much effort into it as I can, as much as I would for the music I write for grown-ups, if not more. What message does that send to a kid? Now, I don't know if
Mm.
kids are actually going to get that from my music. My hope is that they will, but like, in taking a lot of these songs like way past the point that I probably should, like, the last song on the album ends up with like a full orchestra, like, I took a lot of the stuff like way, way too far and just kind of did what I would do if I was writing music for grown-ups. I feel like the message I want them to get is like, I value you so much. I respect your intelligence, and I want you to know that, um, you know, I made this for you,
Oh,
basically.
wow.
You know,
Yeah.
um,
Yeah, I love that, and I saw I forget where I read it or heard you speak about it, but that you describe children as incredibly intelligent listeners.
mhm.
So talk to me about that. How did you define, like, how did you say, wait, they're way smarter than we're giving them credit for? And how did that shape your songwriting to reach their intelligence and to spark that curiosity that comes with it?
That's a great question. Yeah. I think there's several ways that I mean that, right? Like I mean that, first, let's talk first about listeners to music, right? That
Mhm.
as kind of, I don't like using the word consumers of music. I don't want to make this like uh, capitalistic, but like, people who actually listen to music is what I mean. Not that they purchase
Yep.
it. As consumers of music, their ability to, um, understand and intuit and kind of internalize music, complex rhythms, complex harmonies, is way beyond what we give them credit for. They I remember when I have a song on the album, the second song, "This Is a Duck," and the rhythm is extremely complicated in that song. It's changing time signatures all over the place in very unpredictable ways, and ways that we're not used to hearing in the music that kids usually hear, at least not in this country.
Right.
But we can get to that at a later date. Um, and I wrote this song and I put a little video out, and I my kid had no problem both singing along and singing these rhythms back when the music wasn't playing. And then one of my close friends sent a video of his kid singing that song because they watched the video, and the kid nailed the rhythms perfectly. They were so young, and I had you know, kind of bought into this. And no one specifically told me that kids can't do this, but I feel like there's just like that general
Sure.
understanding that we have to kind of dumb things down and tone things, dial things back for them. And what I learned from that song was like, no, we don't actually. Like, they can process these things and intuit what's happening in this music in a way that I think most adults have trouble with. And then my kid was walking around singing and was singing music in 7/8 time signature, which is a very complicated time signature for a lot of adults to sing, and just flawlessly, like coming up with brand new music in 7/8, not even realizing it, you know?
Yeah.
Um, so I mean, that's kind of one way that I mean it, but I also mean in terms of the way that they listen and understand the actual words and the kind of syntactic content, like
Mhm.
the meaning behind things. The and that's I think a little simpler. It's just that kids they're they're listening when we don't realize they are, and they're understanding more than we give them credit for. And they're processing these things in ways that are very probably different than we would. And sometimes that's good, and sometimes that's bad. But I think that there's just a um, there's just I don't know how to put it, like a whole wellspring of intelligence that I can't speak for all of us, but for a long time I felt like I overlooked.
Yeah. That reminds me of something, Dave, I heard the other day, and it really resonated with me. It was a quote that says, "Assuming your normal is normal is why everything else feels foreign." Right? And as you're explaining that, I'm thinking like, yeah, your daughter picked it up even though it's complex. And a lot of adults can't do it because she doesn't know it's complex. She doesn't know it's
Yeah,
not supposed to sound like everything else. She's just absorbing it for what it is, free.
yeah,
Right? And I think so many times as adults, we take in information, but we're comparing it to what we already think we know or what our norms are,
yeah.
that we make it so foreign or so hard or challenging when it doesn't have to be. And I think that's just a testament to what you're doing as you're reaching kids before they've concreted these thoughts and these ideas of what's acceptable, what's not. And dude, you should be super like proud, I guess is the first word I'm coming to mind, that like you're challenging them to be who they're supposed to be.
Thank you. No, that's a really lovely thing to say. Yeah. Um, I mean, I hope that comes through. I hope that that the kids I'm not explicitly saying any of this in the music. I hope that comes through, and I hope that you know um, it gives them kind of license to kind of be, kind of be who they are, and not assume these things. And by the way, what you just said, I think um, it carries through across so many aspects of life. And I think that's I don't know if you want to go down this road here, but that idea of assuming that your normal is normal, and that there's like a default position for things, right?
Mm.
I think a lot of racism comes from that. a lot of the way that we see racism kind of forming in I mean, in my teaching, when I was teaching like music theory classes, right, there was just an understanding that the way that we're doing things in this classroom, that's the default setting. And I had to do a lot to undo that understanding that, like, there are cultures that our music is weird. Our music is different. And if we assume that just that it's just normal and that our way of doing things is the way to do things, we're implicitly putting ourselves above somebody else, right? Putting
Sure.
our culture above somebody else's culture. And I can think of, there was um, when my partner and I first met, I started trying, my partner is from the Dominican Republic, and I started trying to learn Spanish. And one way I did that was listening to a lot of Spanish music, a lot of Spanish language music.
Love it.
Uh, I really connected with it super hard, but my Spanish wasn't really getting that much better until many years later. And now I'm fluent, but like when I was kind of getting to that point of getting close to fluency, and I was really listening to the music and learning all the words and kind of connecting with so much of the music, um, I found that a lot of the songs were too long for me. I said, I don't know why this song is so long. I think they should have ended it here, you know. And then I started learning to dance merengue, salsa, bachata, and I
Right.
realized, oh, these songs are long because they're meant to be enjoyed on the dance floor. You're meant to dance to them, and we don't want the song to end because we're having such a good time. And
Right.
all of a sudden, I realized I'm thinking of this from like a purely compositional, theoretical, analytical perspective, which is where I live a lot of the time. A lot of my time is
Right.
from that perspective. And all of a sudden, I realized, holy crap! Like, that's not the default setting. Like, actually, if there was a more common default setting in the world, it would be for music to be used to dance.
Mm.
Um, and all of a sudden, my perspective on this music that I already loved just like opened up, and things made so much more sense to me. And it was very humbling to realize that like that I'd been so off I was so self-centered in my appraisal of it.
Yeah, and I think, Dave, that's such an awesome story, and I think it goes back to what we talked about earlier, right? And that is being curious and
Yeah.
assuming I don't know, right? And that's one of the most freeing things I've done as I've gotten older is I realized, quite honestly, how arrogant I was in my 20s when I thought I knew so much, and how much more fun it is now at this age to go, "I don't know, you tell me, Dave. I wanna learn from your experience."
I'm like, good for you, because I feel like that's a really hard change to make, to the kind of from being like the like I know everything to actually like taking that kind of like more of a student mindset. I feel like that's a really hard change to make, and it's one I feel like I can't speak for other people. I struggle with all the time, and I don't want to struggle with. I want to be, you know, I am a very curious person, but I want to be more so, and I want to, I think
Mhm.
that that's a great perspective that you have there.
Well, and it's funny because it's from travel, right? My wife and I sold all our belongings in 2021, and we just travel the country now. We spent a whole winter in Mexico, and when I hear you talking about the Latin music and salsa dancing, the first thing that came to mind to me is when we were spending that winter in Mexico, and we went out to eat, and they never bring you the check. They will let you sit there for as long as you want because dinner is supposed to be enjoyed. And I realized, like, we had taken our norms of what an experience was supposed to be, eat kind of as fast as you can because you think they want to turn the table over to get to the next customers because we're used to the American style. And I remember the waitress coming over and talking to us and telling us how fast we were. And we didn't, what were we in a hurry for? Where were we going? What else is next? Then you're like, wait, that's right. Like, our norm is not their norm, and I kinda like their norm right now. Let me slow down and enjoy this.
There's actually a word in Spanish that we don't have in English for that, like after the meal, sitting at the table, just like hanging out and talking. Like,
What
it's
is
a
it?
sobremesa.
Sobremesa.
Sobremesa, yeah, which I
Huh.
think literally means like on the table.
Yeah.
And I hope I'm not getting that wrong, but my understanding of that word is that like that's what it refers to.
Alright, well, we have a pretty good community down in Baja, Mexico, so don't fact check us on that one.
I'll probably check myself before the end of this to make sure I'm not making a fool of myself.
No, dude, you're good. What man, yeah, I think I wanna ask this question of you, Dave. What role does making the songs funny, like humor also play into tapping into their intelligence and their imaginations for our children?
Hmm. Yeah. So I mean, this is a very like I'll say personal thing. Like, I think everybody has their own way of listening to music and understanding and appreciating music. And there's lots of great music that I can recognize as being amazing and I just don't want to listen to. Stuff that's like for instance, when we're listening to kids' music at our house, I don't like to put on kids' music that's like very kind of sappy, and like really directly talking in a very um like a super on the nose way about feelings. I find that just kind of
Mhm.
cloying, and I find it's just not. I don't connect with it. But I don't feel like those things that we can't. I don't feel like I feel like it's possible to get at some of those same ideas and emotions through a different lens. For me, in my music, even in my stuff with Paper Mice, it's like post punk, it's loud, but humor is a huge part of the lyrics and like the music in general. Humor is just kind of part of how I make music and how I exist in the world. I don't like making music that doesn't have that element in it. I feel like for me it's like an emotional amplifier that humor. Like if the when there's I always talk about like there's like a sad part in a movie, and it's when someone cracks a joke that the tears start flowing for me. It's like I'm
Right.
holding it in, I'm holding, and then someone says something funny, and it's just like blah, you know.
Yeah.
Um, and I just feel like there are people like me in the world, and I'd like to make music for. As much as possible for everybody, but like the people who don't want to listen to music like that, who want to hear something to make them laugh, to make them smile, like I feel like that's the role that I can serve. And if I would feel dishonest doing otherwise. And I think building your kids' sense of humor is, I think, integral to their intelligence. I think kids with really great senses of humor, they understand why it's funny. There's a level of intelligence there and understanding of the world around them.
Yeah. No, that's so good. I'm pondering on that because I think we forget that that is a skill we should be modeling, right? We're really good at modeling all the things to avoid, how to stay safe. We're really good at modeling, what the behaviors are that are expected of you. But like, do we model how to laugh at things, how to find humor and stuff
Hmm.
that the majority of your life should be fun?
So yeah, no, yeah, and I think there's something to be said for modeling what you're talking about, like how to laugh at stuff, but like finding the right things to laugh about, the right times, the right places, the right ways to make jokes. I think one thing I don't remember who was talking about this, where I heard it or read it, but someone was talking about like being the funny person in a conversation can be a very selfish way to be a part of that conversation. That every
Yeah.
time like you talk, you're trying to make people laugh, and you're making everything about you, and you're kind of like pulling everybody into making yourself the center of attention, and that's something I found myself doing at times and felt like, "Oh, that is very obnoxious. I shouldn't be doing that. I'm not being the participant in this discussion I want to be." And so like there's the other side of that too, which is like, well, and it's not the other side of it, it's kind of the conclusion of what you're talking about, which is like this is how to be funny, and this is how to maybe, or the point when you shouldn't do that. This is how to be part of a conversation where you're actually a participant and a contributor and not just like taking over the room.
Mm. Yeah, no, that's fantastic, and I think that's even more important than we give ourselves that maybe we pay attention to because in a digital world where everything's so fast and moves so quick, the art of having conversations can quickly be lost if we're not careful to curate it further.
Mm. Yeah, I
And
mean, I imagine you're probably pretty intentional about that with your family. It's you know, I feel like it's a we gotta carve out space for it. It's a how do you how do you do that with your family?
that's a great question, Dave. Well, my kids are a little older now, and I've realized I think part of it is realizing I don't have to know everything.
Mm.
So I'm curious to the conversations, and they're at an age where I don't have to parent them. Like,
Mhm.
they come to me for advice, I'll offer advice, but what's more important is that we're just having talks and we're just communicating, and I wanna listen. I wanna know what's going on in their adult life, and I don't wanna offer solutions because 'cause I'm not in their adult life. It's a completely different world today than it was when I was in the 20s. And I think just making that space to where they're allowed to say what they want to say, they're allowed to express what they want to express without trying to filter it to what a parent wants is huge.
Takes a lot of trust, right?
And you got to earn it,
Yeah.
right? And I think that's where going back to like slowing down and being present, that's where we break that trust is when we rush them through something because there's something else we have to do. And we're trying to fit their little conversation into the box we needed to fit in because we got other adult things to go do. But I think if you would stop for a minute and go, wait a second, is this conversation with my daughter that may be the only time she ever comes and tells me this in her life? Are those emails that are waiting for me really more important than this? And I think that's where I dropped the ball a lot when I was younger, Dave, is like that other thing seemed more important.
It's a hard
And
line it's a hard balance to strike, you know?
it is, but it's not permanent. And I guess that's what I would say is like whatever mistakes you make parenting or just in whatever 2 years ago doesn't have to be the same ones you're making today if you're aware and you know you can pivot.
Yeah. You know, it brings us back to if you're going to be good at something, you got to be bad at it first. Like we make mistakes in parenting. We make mistakes in these really important aspects of our lives. And as long as we learn from those mistakes, they don't have to define us, define our relationships, you know?
Yeah, and we allow ourselves to grow past them, right? I think that's one of the biggest lessons for our young people is you're going to make mistakes. You're going to do stuff you're not proud of. You're going to do things you wouldn't do again. It doesn't define who you're going to be tomorrow unless you carry it with you and let it.
Yeah. It's as a person who struggles with anxiety, I think that's a really important point that like, these things that like I'm perseverating on like all the time that, from even from years ago, like I'm the only one who's thinking about them,
For
like,
sure. For sure.
yeah,
And what's the cost? Right? Are you reaching your full potential today if I'm thinking about the stupid things I did 20 years ago? Probably not, because that means I'm not where I am today. I'm not enjoying this moment, whether it's with my wife or talking with you or whatever it is. If I'm holding on to my past, I'm not truly 100% in my present.
yeah, that's, I struggle with that so bad. I mean, it's such like that being present and it's really, uh, it's hard for me. I'll stop
Well,
mumbling and just tell you it's hard for me.
yeah, and I think it's hard for a lot of us. And I think a part of it is it's intentionally hard because our society creates it to be hard, right? We're constantly multitasking and we're constantly like engaged in something. Like we just don't create enough time to just be. And that's, I think, what your music does, Dave, is it allows you to just be like, be with the song, be with the lyrics, be with the tempos. And even like you said, it's super challenging. When I listened to it, I found it super I'm not the I don't know much music theory and stuff. I didn't find it challenging as much as I found it captivating, like, "Wait, this does sound different to me."
Mhm.
It's very interesting that it sounds different to me.
Oh, thank you. Yeah, I appreciate that.
And I think that's what keeps attention, right? And
Mhm,
that's what allows people to stay in the moment is, like, they're learning something new if they're paying attention to, "Wait, this is new. This isn't normal of what I
mhm.
thought was normal. This is somebody else expressing themselves in a new way that I get to learn with, and for that moment, I can maybe see the world the way you're seeing it, talking to those kids at that time."
Thank you. That's a yeah, it's a I think, um, this one of the I don't know, I'm not sure if you feel this responds directly to what you're saying here, but I think um, I don't I try to make my music honest to who I am and honest to the ideas that are in my head, and, I realize that makes it sound different to a lot of other people and different from a lot of the music that the kids' music that's out there. But I feel like I've encountered criticism before of some of my other music where people thought I was doing something just for that sake, just to make it different. And I find that idea of doing something just to be different, to be just anathema, to, like, just completely opposite of what I'm trying to do. And I think what I'm trying to do is be true to the way that I perceive music and the way that I hear it in my head. And I think that, when I teach composition, when I teach songwriting, one of the things that's so hard to get kids to do is and adults as well, is to write what they want, right? To kind of inhabit their own imagination and follow that imagination and follow those intuitions without, as much as possible, without the kind of hand of expectation guiding them too much, if that makes
Yeah.
sense.
Yeah, it totally makes sense. To just go, like, don't stay in the guardrails. Just let it go and see what comes out of you. And like, if you think back, it's so crazy that we steer everything into these nice little neat boxes. But if you look back at the history of mankind, most of the greatest things were created by somebody who chose to be a little different,
Hmm.
that chose to see it a little different, was allowed to pursue a different outcome from a problem we thought we already knew the answer to.
Or maybe, I agree entirely. Except I want to. Maybe it's not that they chose. It's just that they let themselves, right? Because I don't
Exactly.
think it's. I don't think you can. I mean, you can choose to be different, but I think, like, the when I see artists or musicians or whatever who are being a little different, the stuff that I connect with the most is when it feels the most honest. It feels like they're not choosing to do something different. They're just listening to who they are. They're just doing the thing that's inside of them. Yeah, and I think that's I want to say I want that to be an easy thing to do. For me, it was one of the hardest things in the world, because I so so many times I'd sit down and to write music and realize that what I was writing is what I thought I was supposed to be writing and not what I wanted to write. And it took me a long time to kind of, I don't want to say undo, the decades of study and all the theory knowledge and whatever, but just to be able to quiet it so that my own voice could speak, if that makes sense.
Yeah, no, 100%. No, absolutely. Dave, what part of this process of dad joke and the music has surprised you the most?
Um, Surprised me the most. I got to say, when I started doing the project, I really didn't know what the songs were going to sound like. I didn't know what the music was going to end up being like, and um, I you know I had in my mind what it might. I mean, the first couple songs I wrote sounded nothing like the stuff that you hear on this album. It was more kind of standard, what you'd expect from kids music. And then, you know, I realized that wasn't what I wanted to be doing, and that wasn't what my kid was enjoying. My kid was enjoying the stuff that was weirder. And then, so, like, every time I start a song, I have an idea of what that song is going to be, and almost every time it ends up being wrong, but in a good way. So, like, for instance, the last song on the album is called "I Tried to Use AI, but It Came Out Weird," and the song is about why we shouldn't use AI for music, for art, for anything like that. And it's a kind of you know uh, an argument in favor of the human creative process. And when I
Yeah.
sat down to write that song, I had some weird pictures that AI kind of imagery had just come out, and my kid and I were just exploring it, and we came up with some stuff that was just ridiculous. And I thought it was so funny. We had to write a song about it, and I thought the song would take me a couple days to write, and it would be very simple and it would be easy to write. The video would make itself. And the song took me months to write. It ended up going through all these different sections and ending up with like a 70s acoustic guitar sound, and then turning into a full orchestra. And like the song ended up being like the preachiest thing I've ever written, and like really taking a stand, like a firm position about this stuff. And the video took like a very long time to make. And like none of this ended up sounding anything like what I thought it would. And I mean, it was very surprising to me, and it was a very welcome surprise, because I think it was a lot better than what I had originally envisioned it as. And if I had stuck with to trying to make it like my first vision and not kind of let my intuitions guide where it went, I would have been a much stupider song.
Yeah, we talked about this before air, and I want to get your insight on this because as an artist and somebody who's dedicated their life to music and creating music and now channeling for children, you're passionate about AI and the arts. What is something you'd share with us to be aware of from your end as somebody that's poured their heart and soul into music?
Yeah, I think AI has a lot of potential across a lot of areas of life. What it can do for medicine, what it can do for, um, um, just making certain aspects of our lives easier. I think is really, it could have a pretty profound impact. But its impact on art and on music, on writing, on all of these things that are artistic endeavors, I feel like it's a really malignant influence. You know, seeing people. Um, I mean, I don't want to talk about capitalism, but like I have to here, because like seeing people just forego hiring people to do art, for going graphic artists, for going, paying people to produce something, and just being like, oh, I can do it with the computer. I can just do it with AI for free. You know, yes, it's putting people out of work, but also what it's doing is it's removing the aspect of that I think is the most important aspect of art, which is human to human communication, right? Art is meant to portray something. It's meant to, we're meant to interpret it. We're meant to understand it, and it's meant to communicate some kind of understanding between people. And that might not be a direct understanding, but for it, at some level, it is one human being communicating something with another human being. AI has nothing to do with that, right?
Yeah.
When AI makes a piece of art, it's not trying to communicate anything. It's just putting together other stuff that people have done to try to meet the prompt or to do what it's been asked to do. And so, like, we hear all these AI songs coming out and everything, and like, I can spot them a mile away. And the technology is going to get better, but I still feel like as it gets more and more convincing, we're going to be able to spot it because it doesn't feel authentic. It's not a real communication between people. It's not it. All it is a computer garbling stuff together and recycling it and trying to spit out something that makes sense. I think that's really harmful because, even if we're not making money for making art, which I think artists should be paid for their work, we're losing what is just one of the most fundamentally human things that we can do, which is make a work of art of some whatever
Mhm.
form, visual, auditory, and sharing it with other people and just enjoying that, the act of creation, the act of interpretation and understanding of that. And it just kills it.
Yeah, no, I agree. And then on the backside is the receiver of the art. There is no story to it. There is no, what was Dave trying to tell me here? Like, what is his message? What was his mood when he wrote this? What was he going through? What phase of life was he in?
Yeah, I mean, there's nothing to be interpreted, right? And there's no,
Yeah.
and the thing is, like, I remember seeing like I must have been a TikTok or something like that of a guy put his, I think it was text from his wife or girlfriend, and turned them into emo songs. Had the AI crank out emo songs, and it was funny. I mean, it was legit funny. The songs were bordering on catchy, and I was like, oh, okay, like the AI can actually come up with a melody, or it can come up with like a fun sound and everything like that. But people can do that too. People can come up with fun melodies. People can come up with fun sounds, and they'll do a better job of it. And also, it's a person. They're communicating something with you. Like it's for all that for all of the ability that AI had, and for all the programming and work that went into getting to do that. It's a husk. It's a husk
Yeah.
of there's nothing there.
Yeah.
And it was funny because the texts were funny. The idea was funny. The songs, it didn't need AI to do that. It just was quicker. It took no effort. It took no money.
Right.
You know. There was a quote I want to mention to you
Yeah.
that I don't remember who said it. I don't remember the exact wording, and I'm sorry to the person who said it if that I don't remember it. But they said uh, uh, AI puts skill in. AI gives the wealthy access to skill without giving the skilled access to wealth. And I think that's a
Mm.
hugely important aspect of this from a kind of capitalistic point of view, which is that artists were traditionally paid for their work. Uh, and it costs money for the wealthy to pay them. And now the wealthy don't have to pay anything, but they're getting the artistic product for free. And the people who are the creatives who are actually doing the work get no access to that money. It
Yeah.
sums it up real well.
Yeah. No, that's interesting for sure. Dave, it's been an honor having you on the show, my friend. I love our conversation. I love what you're doing. And where can our audience connect with you, follow along on your journey, and support you in this artistic endeavor?
Thanks for that. Yeah. Thank you for having me. It's been a real pleasure talking with you. You can go to dadjokemusic.com. Or you can also go to dadjokemusicforkids.bandcamp.com to purchase my new album, Fun Intended. I'm streaming on all the streaming platforms as well. It's a little hard to find me under dad joke because there's a lot of people who like a lot of things where people are actually telling dad jokes. So if you type out dad joke as one word and write the album name Fun Intended, it'll lead you to me on the streamers. And once I'm famous, I'll then I'll get there quicker. You'll be able to just type dad joke and be like, oh, you probably mean this dude, but
Yeah.
I'm not.
Yeah, man, we'll keep supporting you getting there. I have one question for you as we wrap up, Dave. What do you hope kids and parents take away from your music? Yeah, Dave, thank you so much. I can't wait to share your story with our community and keep up the positive work you're doing, my friend.